I was in labor for 22 hours. Lucky me. Little me endured a 22-hour labor with the help of an epidural, honey. I wanted to share a story with you guys. It's so random. I was just sitting here thinking about how Mother's Day is approaching, and it'll officially be my first Mother's Day. I thought that it would be a good idea if I shared my labor and delivery story with you guys. I personally find these stories to be very interesting. Even before I became pregnant, I've watched a few YouTubers do their labor and delivery story, and let's just say no two stories are the same. And I've heard that plenty of times, even while being pregnant, that no two pregnancies are the same. Like, some are really good, some are really bad, some are both good and bad. So I'm gonna share my experience with you guys. So I remember the day so clearly, obviously, because it was a life-changing day for me. So I've always been super paranoid, or just, I don't like anything that has to do with giving birth. Like, I didn't have to do it prior to me having to actually do it. So, like, I know people that want to be in the delivery room with their friends or a family member when they're delivering. I never wanted to do that. I know that I saw, there was a show, I think it used to come on TLC or something like that, where it would show the women in labor and like leading up to it. That freaked me out. And I used to tell myself, I'm not having kids. If I gotta go through that, I'm not having kids. So of course, as you get older, you want to have a family of your own. So, okay, I, again, was always terrified of labor. So my entire pregnancy, this was a highly anticipated date, like not knowing when it would happen. Of course, you're given a due date, but it can happen anywhere around that time. So you're mentally preparing yourself with this date in your head, like, okay, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, it's gonna happen, and you don't really know how it's gonna happen. For me, I had gone to work. It was a Monday. I had worked the entire day. I didn't have anything unusual happen to me. I worked the whole day, like I said, and then I went to walk to my car, and as I had done many days, when I leave work, I would call my best friend. So me and her were on the phone talking. So I talked to her my entire drive home, and when I got in the house, she and I were still on the phone talking, but at this point I had put her on speakerphone, and I like laid across my bed. So I had to have been home maybe like 5 minutes, and I heard something go. And of course I'm looking around, because it's very, like, it wasn't a startling sound, but it was strange. And then I didn't know where it had come from. So I'm on the phone with her again, she's on speaker, so I continue to talk, and then the next thing I know, I started to feel some wetness, and I had worn a dress to work that day. So I guess it didn't, like, there was no pressure on it to make it like gush out. I mean, I don't know what other way to put it. So I told her, I said, hold on one second. So I stood up, and when I stood up, the biggest droplet that I've ever seen in my life, it fell and hit the floor. And it hit the floor, and it was like a scene from a movie, as if it was slow motion, and then I heard it go boom. like that droplet hit the floor. And I looked down and I'm like, I don't know what to do. So I went into the bathroom, I pulled down my underwear, and there was a pool of fluid sitting in the seat of my underwear. So I'm like, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god, oh my god. I screamed. I'm like, mommy! My mom has been my nurse the entire time through my pregnancy. Like, she was my nurse before becoming pregnant, but she was like, she was my nurse when I was pregnant. Like, everything I called my mom for before anything. So I started screaming out for my mom, and I hadn't been home that long, like I said. So my mom, she came rushing out and she was like, what's wrong, what's wrong? And I was like, something's happening. And I started crying because I knew that, okay, now is the time, and I'm not prepared. Luckily, my mom, being the awesome mom that she is, she had already, like, we had gone out. I had bought like pajamas, a robe, and like just things to put in the in my night bags for when it was time to go. Mind you, this was June 3rd, and my due date was in 3 weeks. Yeah, 3 weeks after this date. So I'm thinking, okay, like, it can't be happening yet because, you know, I'm not due. This isn't my due date. So I had made it to full term, but I guess my son was like, that's it, girl, I'm coming. So my mom, she was like, okay, don't panic. So she's trying her best to calm me down, and she called my little brother to tell him that she's gonna pick him up and we have to go to the hospital because Vonnie's in labor. So I'm panicking now. I have to go back into you know, snap back into it. And I went back to my phone because I left my best friend on hold, and I was like, I'm gonna call you back. And I just hung up on her. I didn't tell her anything. So whatever she heard in the background, she probably could put together, but listen, I just had to get off the phone. So I had to change my clothes, and I put on something that was a little warmer, being that I was going to the hospital. And of course I put on a pad to catch the fluid. So we're in the car, we're driving, and it just feels so super disgusting because it's like fluid is consistently running and I'm just sitting on it and there's nothing I can do. So when we made it to the hospital, I get up to go walk in through the emergency room, and there was like, it was just like people all over the place. And I carried very small during my pregnancy. I carried very small. So when I finally got up to the little counter where the security guard is, like, she's looking like, I'm looking like, girl, I'm pregnant, I'm in labor, like, I'm ready to go. She looking at me like she don't even see my belly, which I guess now that I stop and think about it, a lot of people, like, if you saw me from the back, you wouldn't even know I was pregnant. So she probably didn't understand the urgency or whatever, or she's used to seeing it. She's in the emergency room. So anywho, so they logged me in, whatever, show her my ID. They put me in a wheelchair to wheel me to the back. Whole time I'm still sitting on this wet pad and I am disgusted. Oh my goodness. So I make it to the back and they take me behind the curtain, and the nurse tells me, oh, undress and lay down and da. So they start like taking my vitals, hooking me up to all types of machines and things. And I had never gone to the hospital during my pregnancy on like a false alarm. Like, I've known friends or other people that have gone to the hospital and then they got turned around. I didn't want that to happen to me, and thankfully I didn't have a reason to go on a false alarm. So this was my first time. And low-key, I'm hoping like, okay, this is a false alarm, because I was not ready. So when a doctor, I can't even remember, somebody came in and then they were like, oh yeah, we're gonna keep you because your water broke, so we can't send you home because you risk infection, or you'll just be coming right back, you know, in a few hours because you're in labor. So I'm like, oh my god, okay, fine, I'm in labor. So I'm in the room, not in the room, but I'm in the little unit right before like the admittance process. I'm answering all type of insurance questions about myself, and I'm just like out of it. I'm like, oh my gosh, how is this baby gonna get out of me? How are they going to get this baby out of me? Like, I'm literally panicking, but like internally only. Like, I don't want anybody to know. So I'm like, okay, just focus, just calm down. So I went to my room. They opened up a room for me, and I went up to the room. So I'm in the room, there's all this beeping, and they got me on all these machines and things of that nature, and I'm like thinking, okay, is it gonna happen? At this point, it's like 10:30, 11 at night. 10:30, 11 p.m. at night. So I'm like, okay, am I gonna have this baby tonight? Like, how am I gonna sleep if I don't have him tonight? Like, what am I, like, it was just so many things in my mind. Like, do I go to sleep? Can I go to sleep? Like, I don't know. Like, I did not know what to do, but I couldn't do anything but lay in that damn bed. So I'm there, my mom's talking to me, my little brother's there, and I didn't tell any of my friends. Like I said, I was on the phone with my best friend, and I had hung up on her, but I didn't tell any of my friends that I was in labor, because I was literally like still in shock. Like, this cannot be happening. I went the entire night, no baby. The doctors and nurses, they're coming in, checking on me, seeing how far I had dilated. And it was probably noontime the next day. Yeah, it was probably noontime the next day, and they were checking me to see how many centimeters I had dilated, and I think I was at 3. And I'm like, what? Bruh. So I had this little app on my phone that counts the contractions. It tells you, you know, like how long they are, how far apart they are. You just hit the start and stop button. And every time I would have a contraction, my mom, she would come and hold my hand with me. It had gotten to a point where the contractions were getting so strong, I couldn't even hit the button on the app to like time them. So my mom had to do it, and she had to ask me, like, is it okay? Did it stop? Like, how does it, like, she was hitting the start stop button for me so that we can track the contractions. And I guess she like eventually just started to determine if it had ended based on my grip on her hand, because I would lighten my grip as it stopped. So I'm thinking to myself, you know, I had always told myself that I can't tolerate pain, so I'm gonna need the epidural. But then I was like, no, I'm gonna stick it out. I'm gonna see if I can get through it without the epidural, be a big girl. Let's see, because you know, you hear so many things about the epidural, and it's like the long-term effects that it have on you later. So I'm like, okay, I'm not gonna do the epidural. I'm not gonna do the epidural. I'm gonna be a big girl. Let me tell you something. At about 3, so this had to be roughly 3 hours later, and I was being checked again. Of course, I'm still going through contractions, and they told me that I had went up, but I was only at 5 centimeters. And I'm like, bro, when is this gonna happen? Because at this point, it's almost 24 hours that I've been in labor and no baby. So the doctors, well, this one particular doctor, unfortunately my doctor was on vacation and she did not deliver my baby, but that's okay. I'm grateful for the team that I did have. So this doctor who did deliver my baby, she came in at one point and she was like, you know, you're not dilating and your body's under a lot of stress, and I don't really want you to continue going through that. We're probably going to have to end up cutting you for a C-section. And I immediately started crying. And my mom knew that I didn't want to have a C-section. Like, I really wanted to do a vaginal birth. Like, if at all possible, I want to do a vaginal birth. C-section would only be if I had no other option. So I was so sad. So on top of being stressed, panicking, now I'm sad because I don't want to get cut. So I cried a little bit and then I stopped, and my mom was like, you know, it's okay, we just want to do the best for the baby and make sure that you're safe. And you know, so okay, I understood. But then in the back of my mind, I'm like, I can't have a C-section. Like, I don't want to have a C-section. God definitely was listening to my prayers, because somehow, some way, I didn't have to have a C-section. So, okay, the doctor, she said, okay, we're gonna allow you to, you know, let your body work a little bit more and see what it's gonna do. We're gonna give you some Pitocin. and see if that no, let me back up. After she told me that I was gonna have to get a C-section, and like I can still feel the pain picking up, I told them bring the epidural, because at this point I feel like I can focus and turn to Superwoman and push my baby out myself. Like, I don't want to be cut. So they came in with the team to do my epidural. I got the epidural, laid down, and of course at this time it's like, you know, when you got an epidural, well, everybody may not know, but anyone that has had an epidural know, like, you got an epidural, you can face the world. Like, you don't feel nothing, like, physically, obviously. So they gave me the epidural, so I was in a much better mood, more calm, just, you know, I don't feel my contractions even happening. So they're seeing that my contractions are still coming, but I'm not dilating. So the nurse came back in, not the nurse, the doctor who stated that I would have to be cut, she came back in and she was like, okay, let me check. I had not moved again, still at 5 centimeters. Again, this is around maybe 4 p.m. Still at 5. So I'm like, okay, still don't know what to do, because I've never been in labor before. I don't know what the alternatives are. I can't do anything. Like, so she said, we're gonna give you Pitocin to see if that'll help speed up the process. So they gave me Pitocin and they gave me magnesium. I think, I don't even remember what the magnesium was for, but yeah. So they gave me that, and then they stated that when we give you this magnesium, I think it was the magnesium, you won't be able to get out of bed. So you'd have to stay in bed. So I'm like, okay, well, it's not like, you know, it's much I can do anyway. So I was bedridden, sort of. So, oh, my brother came, my older brother came to visit. So we were just there and we were talking and, you know, whatever. And time is like slowly going by now, because now I know that I'm still at 5 centimeters. I don't want time to go by too fast, because I don't want her to come in and say, okay, we gotta cut you. So I was okay with time creeping by. So I got to, let's say, a little bit 4-5 maybe. And then the nurse, she came in and she came rushing in, and she just immediately started throwing on gloves. And my mom was like, wait. Me, I didn't really know what, you know, what caused my mom to react that way. And then she asked the nurse, she was like, did you wash your hands? And then the nurse like kind of like had an attitude, and she was like, yes, I washed my hands before I came in the room. She was like, okay, well, I'm in the medical field and you should wash your hands again once you enter the room, so that I can see and be more comfortable, because I can't trust that you washed your hands, especially if you're gonna go, you know, to put your hands inside of my daughter. So I'm like, no argument there. So the nurse like kind of like got an attitude, and then she went and washed her hands, and then she came back, but she came to me so aggressively. So she like moved the sheets off of me and like threw my gown back, and like she went and like shoved her hands up my vagina to see how much I had dilated. And I promise you, at this very moment, it was like, I don't know if it was the pressure of her hand. I don't know what caused it, but it happened at the very moment that she inserted her hands into my vagina. I blanked out. It happened at the very moment that she inserted her hands into my vagina. I blanked out. I blanked out. And I'm not saying it like just as a figure of speech. Like, I literally lost consciousness. Me. They had to call a code blue on me in the hospital. I remember hearing my mom say, Vonnie, are you okay? And I said no, because I was not. Like, I can feel me leaving my body. Like, I have never in my life experienced such a feeling. And it was so scary, but I couldn't react. And I thank God my mom was there, because she realized that I wasn't okay. The nurse with her attitude was still in between my legs, shoving her hand, trying to see how many centimeters I've dilated. So she had to alert her, and then she went and they hit the button. Of course, all of this is being told to me because I'm out of it. They hit the button, and like a team of doctors and nurses and all came surrounding my room, surrounding my bed in my room. So I'm not sure what happened while I was down, but what I do know is when I regained consciousness, the doctor that told me I needed to be cut was saying, okay, you can push now. So I went from a nurse shoving her hands up me and me just completely blanking out, and now you're telling me to push? How long was I out? And what's going on? Like, listen, it was like a movie, like a bad movie though. I don't like that movie. So I remember at one point opening my eyes and there was just like super bright lights on me, and I saw so many doctors with masks. So it's like I couldn't even differentiate who was a male and who was a woman. Like, I just saw the mask, the hair nets, and it like just everybody just looking at me and moving this and moving that and turning this and like just doing, I guess, you know, everything to save me. Okay, I'm having flashbacks thinking about it. And so yeah, so the doctor is now telling me that I can go ahead and push. Again, I'm confused because I wasn't pushing beforehand. Like, I was only at 5 centimeters, so whatever happened, I opened up and it was time to push. So she said, okay, go ahead and push. So me, ready to get this over with, I started pushing. Luckily, I had my handy dandy epidural, so it wasn't as painful. So I'm pushing and pushing and pushing. I pushed a total of 3 times and my baby was out. Although I didn't feel the pain, that was the hardest pushing I had ever done. I ain't never pushed before. That was hard work. Like, my body was exhausted, okay? Exhausted. So I delivered my baby, my handsome boy, and they took him and put him in the, you know, the little crib baby bed to clean him off, which was just a few feet away from me because it was still in the room. I later learned that they stopped taking the babies from the room with the mom after birth because of crazy people stealing kids and things, and that made me so comfortable. Like, he never left the room and my baby was always in the room with me, and I'm so grateful for that. So when they laid him on the little bed, I hadn't heard anything. Like, I know they were cheering when he came out, but I hadn't heard him. So I'm like, oh my God, is something wrong with my baby? Is something wrong with my baby? But I didn't even have enough time to think about it long before I heard, yeah. And I instantly was just like, Kobe, that's my baby. So just hearing his little voice for the first time, everything that I had gone through was so worth it. It was so worth it. So they cleaned him up and then they brought him to me and laid him on my chest. I was completely out of it. I couldn't get out of bed because of the magnesium, so I was still bedridden. I was just done. Like, I'm drugged up. But having him on my chest was such that feeling can't be compared to anything. Like, I instantly went into mommy mode and knew that from this day forward, this is the most important person in my life. That, I'm not gonna say I'll go through that again for him, but if he would be my reward after and yeah, so after I got some rest and then the doctors came in to check on me and kind of figure out what happened when I coded, it was determined that I had a seizure. I had never had a seizure before. I had no health issues before. So they were very concerned, and me and baby had to stay in the hospital for a few days longer so that they can monitor mommy. My baby was perfect. Like, he had nothing wrong with him. He was absolutely perfect. But me having a seizure with no previous medical history, they couldn't understand why. I later began to assume it was because of my emotions, like just me panicking and just simply being afraid, that it caused so much to go on in my body, because I was terrified. Like, there's no other word to explain. I was terrified. Not only was I not prepared on that day, like I had conversations with myself my entire pregnancy about, how are you gonna get out of here? Talking to my baby, like, I don't know how you're getting out of here, because I can't deliver. Like, my pain tolerance is probably a 2. That's it. That's all I got for you. I ain't got nothing else. But he was worth it. Now, do I want to have kids again to have to go through pregnancy? Sis. Listen, the girls can go and have all the kids that they want, but me, I'm done. One and done. I'm just so glad he's perfect, because I ain't gotta try again. Like, I don't want to do it. I can't do it. That was a once in a lifetime experience, and I'm gonna leave it at that. However, I am grateful to God that I'm still here. I have not had any health issues since my delivery, and I'm grateful for that, and I'm thankful for my mommy. So again, being that Mother's Day is in a few days, this past year as a mommy has been nothing short of amazing. And happy Mother's Day to my awesome mommy for helping to make me the best mommy that I am. I hope that you guys enjoyed my story. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. We still have so much more to discuss, and so many things that I want to share with you guys about me, in addition to my beauty and fashion, you know, more to come.
All right.
Big old eyes. Oh, you're so sorry.